Hello and welcome along to the next Panto podcast. Well, this week we have somebody very special for you. It's the one, the only, Berwick Kaler. If you've never heard of the name before, well, what are you doing listening to a Panto podcast? Berwick has been a performer for many, many, many years. Not only that, but he's also celebrating his 40th consecutive year this year at York Theatre Royal. And it was an absolute pleasure to spend a few hours in his company and to be able to discuss pantomime. And if you listen very, very carefully, you might even hear I get an actual question in every now and then. So, hope you enjoy. Please click on the subscribe button. Please give us a lovely review as well if you can. And share this amongst your friends, because honestly, this is a man who never gives interviews. Just to give you a bit of background, I was joined with the press officer of the York Theatre Royal, who asked me to ask how the progress of the script is coming along. Bear in mind this was recorded in the middle of September. I think you'll find out yourself. You join me now with Berwick, talking about offence in pantomimes.
It's amazing what they do find offensive, and I am totally amazed when I hear, oh, we've had a letter in. I put in just over oy vey in a pantomime, and it was Susie Cooper who said it, and I went in to the dressing room. Her dressing room. I don't allow her in mine. I went into her dressing room and said, Susie, you're going to have to cut out the OB because someone's written in anti-Jewish, and I couldn't believe it. It was funny in context with how she was saying it. And she sort of just went, Gollocks, I'm Jewish. And I don't find it offensive. So you can't please. You can't please everyone. It's getting more and more difficult, comedy-wise, to write it. Once you start judging yourself, I can't say this, I can't say that. It's not worth doing if it's just going to be, if you're going to have to think of every single person, you're going to have to go through every line in your script. Will that offend this? And you're talking about hundreds of people who can be offended, meaning old people, young people, gay people, men from the moon, aliens. They're all, why can't we just have a laugh? It's all it's just a bit of childish fun. Forget all your education, forget all your dislikes and likes, and just have a laugh. And our audience have just been tremendous. There's things like a lady said, I could go on for hours about what people have said about it, but she said I wasn't going to go this year because I'd lost my husband. And that's fair enough. And she said, but I did. And I laughed. And I felt so much better. Because her and her husband had been to the Panto quite a few years and had a laugh. It's good. You can talk about a lot of things. People are so frightened of talking about death, talking about this. Well, a lot of my humour is black comedy, but on a very innocent scale. I don't want to offend anyone. Absolutely no one. And I'm very protective of that audience. We've had one or two people who came along and decided they would throw in a few words which were not, that is out of order in a family orientated pantomime. And twice I've stopped the show and slung them out. I've done it, and said it won't go on while you're sitting there. And, you know, I have to say it's the drink that is responsible a lot of the times. But what gives anyone the right to swear or think they're in their living room? Theatre is an occasion. It's an event. You're not sitting at home, there are people around you. It's wonderful. Theatre is marvellous. But it is getting very hard for me to write. I mean, I don't know what the date is now, but I think we've got a couple of scenes written. Everyone thinks this is a joke. It's not a joke. It's so difficult. And I'm writing for, we're not stars. I'm writing for people, and I include myself, who are not the greatest actors in the world. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't do very much, except maybe put a smile on people's faces. But I know, because we've been together many years, I know all their strengths and weaknesses. They started off with me in the chorus. They've worked their way up, and that's what, we are a repertory theatre, and that's what theatre does. It absolutely encourages people, pushes them further, whereas if they tried to go straight into the West End, they would never get anything like that. Never. And we have the people who have all started off with a York pantomime. Lots of names. Gary Oldman, Mark Addy, bless him. Lovely Mark. Mark Addy was a stagehand. And he made his first professional appearance, and he doesn't mind me telling this. He was going for a prop on stage, and his hand appeared, and I said, "Oh, look, stagehand," and I dragged him through, and it's on tape somewhere, and there's Gary Oldman who played the cat. You've all got to start off somewhere, but they started. Gary, Pierce Brosnan, lots of other people, David Easter. They got a lot out of our pantomimes, and they still, to this day, I mean, Mark never misses it. They come every year. Jimmy Nail comes every year. Susie Quattro comes every year. There's a lot of people who really love this pantomime. They know it's rubbish. They know it's rubbish. And I'll go on calling it rubbish, but we say in the show, yeah, it's rubbish, but it's our rubbish.
So you're very proud of what you've had in the wings, shall I say? All the people that you've had under your under your wing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't live off them. I wouldn't cross the road to see me. And I wouldn't. I'm not that kind of person who idolizes people. I idolize and I mean it, I'm not trying to be weird here. I just find ordinary people a lot more interesting than people who just lovey-doveys. I love actors, but you've got to sort of be a little bit self-obsessed in that. And I don't find them as interesting as someone who's worked all their lives, brought up a family, done the ordinary things in life and have found happiness and all that, there's just something about that. I mean, my favourite person on television is Monty Don, who is Gardener's World. You know, I just find that kind of, and sports people, I just don't think if you make a lot of money just because of the way you look, it seems to me to be, no. Whereas if you're a sports person or inventing something or working for the national health, for goodness sake, there's something worthwhile about that. But just to make money on, you happen to be born good looking. I mean, I have to say to you, I have never, ever earned money because of my looks. And I won't accept it. Telling you, I won't. Yeah, so I'm a weirdo. I really am. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I never trained as an actor. I never wanted to do anything. I'm a brilliant painter and decorator, but I didn't wake up one morning and say, oh, I'm going to be an actor. I want to be an actor. I want to be famous. Or no. And I've had my name up in lights in the West End. I've done 12 West End shows. I've name above the title. Things that people don't know. I've done lots of Shakespeare. I've done the Chichester Festival, all those things. And the greatest satisfaction of all, and I don't know what I was saying. I mean, I played bottom in the Regent's Park, New Shakespeare Company, and David Conville was the director. And I said to him, "Oh, I want to play bottom as a Geordie. I think it lends itself to it." And he went, yeah, all right. I mean, I don't think he knew where Geordie was. I don't think. All right, have a go. And the thing is, he had directed Midsummer Night's Dream for about 20 years. And they did the same gags, they did the same thing, they did this. So, through the period of rehearsals, I said, he said, no, you pick up this and you do that and say it this way. And I said, no, I don't really want to do that, John. I'll get the humour out of the words and everything out there. Oh, really? All right. Well, it got to the stage where everything he was directing, I was saying, I would love to do it another way or whatever. And he got to, just before we opened, the last dress rehearsal, night we opened, and he'd had enough. I wasn't going to do the one classic gag. And he walked out of the auditorium. And he said, all right, he said, so my production, it's no good. It's not good enough for you, is it? So you just want to do what you want, do you? And he said, right. Well then, bugger off. I'll go my way. And he stormed out, and at the end, he shouted from the top of the auditorium, by the way, I can't understand a bloody word you're saying. It's been a wonderful career. But it's the ordinary jobbing actors like that, those stories, very, very funny. And I can't write, but lots of people have said, you really should write a biography. Don't worry about not being famous or anything. It's so funny, and the things I've got up to and things that have happened, people I've met. the Queen. I had a half a bottle of vodka in my pocket. I was introduced to the Queen. Lots of things. That's what I was saying about I'm not easily impressed by just a person, And I'm thinking, the Queen, she's wonderful. She's talked to me now. She hasn't a clue. It was at Regent's Park, in actual fact, when I was playing bottom. And she hasn't a clue who I am and everything, but she looks directly at you. She makes conversation. I don't know how she does it, but she's the greatest actress in the world because she puts you at your ease and all the rest. And Prince Philip was following her behind, and it's pathetic that they have to do all this, bless them. But he said, "Hey, you're bottom, are you?" And he said, "No, someone's just spilled a glass of water over your head." But it was just, I remember standing there thinking, they're lovely people. They're lovely people, but I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not. What have you done?
Has she called you recently?
Oh, she's always ringing. Goodness gracious me. She'll be moving in.
She will. Getting you to paint
when Philip goes.
Paint Buck House, that's it.
Yeah. Well, got 3 floors. I've got to put in a stunner stair lift for her when she gets here. Yeah. Bless her.
So how would you describe the York Panto? Because there's going to be people listening and they've possibly never heard of the York Panto.
No. I find it difficult to describe to our loyal, regular audience. They don't want to. I can't tell you. I'd love to say to you, oh, it's the script, it's the acting, it's this, it's that, it's not. It is that we walk the line with comedy. And I'm not talking about rudeness. I will never tolerate that. Just saying we walk that line with, you think, like with invisible walls. It sounds like all modern stuff. It's not. It's as old-fashioned as the Hills, but if we just use the title and then the rest, Vumf, is in the imagination. And the thing with writing a pantomime, lots of people think they can fill it with all these old jokes and everything else. And yes, there's a place for those in pantomime. But if we do one of those old jokes, we give it a twist. We tell you, you have to say it and all that kind of thing. But we always, the children, people have said, I've heard it's just for adults. No. Children that high, they absolutely love it. You can't give what children were laughing at years and years ago when I was a kid. They're not laughing at now. They've got a different world of humour, and I've never to this day ever talked down to a child. I give them it in the face, but as with the adults. And the secret is that no one understands why they're laughing. They're so stupid, they feel guilty sometimes. But I've heard laughter which many, many theatres would be grateful for. Hysterical laughter, and you think, you're not big-headed about it. You just think, I've many times come off stage and gone, and somebody's come to and said, what was all that about? And I can't even remember what I've said and done, because it is ad-libbing. It is. And if you come one night and it's an ad-lib, and then you come another night and I've used the same line or the thing, then it's no longer an ad-lib. But we do an awful lot of ad-libs, and just spontaneous. And the joke is there's never a plot. And the news is this year, There isn't a plot. There isn't. I can't find one. It's about the grand old Dame of York. And it's... I know it'll be funny, but it's going to test them this year. It's going to test them. Basically, no one quite knows what pantomime they're doing. And I don't know that I'm supposed to have retired. And David Leonard, the villain, comes back, and he's been thwarted for nearly 40... look, David's been with us about 30 times, and he's been thwarted every year by me. And this time, he's going to win. He's going to find out why he keeps being thwarted, and it's all about sense of humour. This could go very wrong. Very, very wrong. So anyway, and that's only the first 2 scenes, because that's all that's written.
How do you actually start the writing process?
Well, I used to pick up a pen. I'm not a writer. But I remember years ago I had a panic attack, and I thought, I can't finish this script. I can't do it. And we brought in a writer. And we didn't use one line of his. Not one line. And I remember Damien Cruden saying, yeah, we know it's rubbish, but there's only one person who can write this rubbish, and that's you. And that's as near to damn it big-headed as I'll get. I'm not a writer. I can just do this. And I was forced to do it because when I first started in York, there were just awful scripts. They'd been round the theatres for 50 years, and they were not funny. And that's when, right from the word go, I ad-libbed. And basically it was, well, if this guy can ad-lib and do this, that and the other, it would be better for it. And then I thought, well, I just said, oh, no, I did it for 3 years, and I said, look, the other actors were coming up to me saying, can you write this for me, can you write... And, somebody else was pocketing the money, no matter what it was. I'm not saying it was a fortune, but there you go. And so the then director, Michael Winter, said, you write it. And I did. To that moment, I swear, I had never, ever thought. It wasn't just a question, it was only a pantomime you're writing, for goodness sake, it's not Shakespeare or anything. But the fact is, I thought, well, thousands of people are going to rely on this. And it was quite a frightening task. And I'm sure I've improved a little bit over the years, and as much as, we have professors coming to see us. They see things in it which not everyone sees, but it is more of an event than a pantomime. Yes, if you want a pantomime, this is the way I think pantomime should go. You can't churn out the same thing. We might say, same script as last year, change the title, all the rest. We've never cheated the audience like that, and we never will. We won't. But it is time for me to move on and see if Monty will come round and tell me what to do with my roses.
Are you seriously dropping?
No, I'm not serious.
That you're seriously thinking about hanging the pen up. I won't tell people what you're doing at the moment.
No, I can't. I just, and I have to be careful. I mean, yeah, I have had a couple of health issues recently, but that isn't it. I feel great, but 72 next month. I've led a terrible life. I've had lots of fun. I've been a naughty dame. I just don't know. I mean, I'm talking to yourself, excuse me, but last year I thought exactly the same. I thought this could be my last one, this is. But the laughter it was all there. I'd had a heart operation and everything. I thought I wasn't going to be able to move, and I was doing everything that I normally do, apart from flying. And I will miss the audience, but there's something which says I'm enjoying the house for the first time. I'm enjoying the dogs. I'm not enjoying who I live with. I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying life, and it would be a big test to. I mean, it's ridiculous. Upstairs I have a cupboard full of puzzles. In this house I have, I would say, about 1,500 books. There's the whole set of Dickens there in a whole cabinet, all from Mr. Dickens there. And that was bought about 20 years ago for when I retire, thinking I was going to be the first actor in the world to, sorry using that word actor, but you know what I mean, who thinks he's an actor. I was going to be the first one to retire at 65. And 7 years later I haven't. And I it's things like I want to read all those Dickens. I've read most of them. I've been in quite a few. But I want to read them. I want to do things like that and not have the thing with me is, with the writing, I never stop thinking pantomime. I watch a telly or something. It's not like you're plagiarizing or anything like that, but you think, like on the news, suddenly I give a name. Oh, that's a name. Yeah, that's good. So you're supposed to be just relaxing and everything else, but you're not. You're always thinking. I mean, that thing there, sing along if you know it. That will be a very funny line in the show, but somebody said just said on the telly, sing along if you know it. And I thought, but, and this is where you go off in your little tantrums and everything. You think, wow, whoa, and no one else thinks like that. But if I did something like, not this one, but something really difficult, like or something with a really difficult lyric, and you suddenly say, join in if you know it, come on, all together. You've got a pantomime gag. It's childish, it's this. But I was, in the middle of the summer, and you think, you can't get away from pantomime. And I'm not saying that I'm too old for pantomime, but I'd rather leave them wanting a bit more than... I don't know. I don't know. All I know is, all these years, 40 years, yes, that audience has supported myself and the team And never forget the team. We have the greatest, as far as I'm concerned, the world's best set designer, costumes. Wake up, publicity agent there, sitting in a corner there. Wake up, haven't we?
Yes.
We have.
We have.
He's very expensive as well. And lighting designer. So that's a because if they wanted to do, yeah, we're not a cheap pantomime, but you do know where the money's going, and it's in that production. It is in that production. We have a professional chorus. No set have we used twice in 40 years. We never cut corners like that. So you know where your money's going. And it's like when I first started out, we had 12 in the chorus. Now it went down to 6, and I said, if it goes down any further, and it isn't that you're blackmailing people. It's not that I want people to think, oh, I wonder if he's going to retire or not. What about them? Or people are saying, oh, please retire, please. I don't know that, but you can't just, on the last night of the Grand Old Dame of York, can you turn around saying, all right, Benz, that's it. You've just seen the last performance. And I wouldn't, come back. I wouldn't do what Chris Biggins does, and he announces his retirement, and then it's every year now. No, and if I was 50 and I'd done, say, 30 pantomimes, I'd say I'll have a break for a year. I'll have a sabbatical. But I don't think you can take a sabbatical, not when you're 72. You can't. You can't take it. You won't. You won't.
And do you feel pressure from audiences, because it's kind of locally, it's kind of like a bit of a Morecambe Wise special.
Yeah.
Your Christmas depends on the panto.
Yeah. Well, you could say what sad lives we all live. No, I think it's. I can't articulate what this pantomime's got, but it's been part of a lot of people's lives for many years. Part of their Christmas, part of their family, and it's all that around Christmas and everything else. And I've got heartbreaking stories. It took me 20 years to not take the pee out of the rubbish, in as much as it was 20 years before I thought, this is ridiculous. It means so much to people. And it was this lady who came to the stage door, and she came with her husband, a big butch guy, a bit like you, right? Ordinary guy, and 2 teenage daughters. And it was to thank me for the laughter. And this was 20 years. And I just thought, oh, that's very nice, and all the rest of it. And I thought, it's odd, isn't it? Just, thank you for the laughter and all that. And the sad fact was, the husband, who was filling up, said she's only got a few days. It was, and as a family they'd come 2 days before, 3 days before. Oh, so it's easy to take the mick out of oh, come on. What do you mean it's a successful band? Who the hell is Berwick Kaler? Who's David Leonard? Martin Barris, Caesar Cooper? Well, we're all jobbing actors who have worked for the best, most loyal audience going. And all I'm saying about leaving is, I was hoping the management would sack me this year. It would solve a lot of problems. And I have about, don't know how long. It's a very complicated pantomime, this. It can't be rushed. It's taken 10 months so far.
Could you do the 10? Could you do another 10? Make it the big old 5-0.
Get a life.
What? You'll be disappointed.
Look, you talking away with your digital nonsense on this coffee. Look, I've never seen so much digital. I am the first person in the world to suffer from digitalitis. I think I've made that up. Is it? There's no disease called digitalitis.
Not yet.
Not yet. There is. I've got it. I can't switch anything on. There was a lovely thing. The dogs were at the window, and there was a squirrel sitting on the fence, and I thought, yeah, I must take a photograph. It was wonderful. And the squirrel was just looking there with a cheesy look. Yeah, come on, jump through those windows. Come on. And I got this phone. I picked it up. I went like that, and I don't know if it'll still do it. And I went, that's the camera. That's the camera. That's the camera. That's the camera. And then I think you do that. You see, nothing works for me. And then I went like that, and I did all this, and the bloody squirrel had gone. Now, other people just grab the camera, tick, and they've got it. Not me. No, I don't know how to send a text. I mean it. I don't. I have machines in this house that could probably clean the house for me, make a cup of coffee or whatever. I never get the benefit of everything. I don't do it so much now, but I used to go in the shop and I go, I'll go for the expensive one and everything else. And really, it'll be good, expensive, it does this, does that. I might as well have gone for the cheapest one in the shop because I only turn it on and turn it off. I haven't a clue what that telly does. I haven't a clue. And it's like cars. I'm not old in as much as I always have thought young. I love talking to young people if they're sensible. I love to, but these, the car talks to me. I don't know how to work that, what I call a sat-nav in the car. I don't know. I've been told 2-3 times. And this is true. There's a... Wake up, you. There's...
Not me.
No,
me.
not you.
Not me.
No. Steve Pratt. It's like there's no keys these days. Is there anything like that? And I don't use it very often, so I was told I might take the dogs if, in decent weather, cold weather. Take the dogs. We might go to the co-op or something, park, and about 3 times this happened. And the car went off, the alarm went off, and the 2 dogs are sitting inside. And I just left it open. I didn't lock it after that. And I said, there's something happened. And my nephew said, this is the button. You turn this off if you have something, animals in the car, they'll set it off. So you turn it off. Well, great, lovely. I press these buttons and everything. And 3 times he showed me where this button was. And 3 times it went off. And I'm thinking, what button do I press? What button? No. And now I just get in that car and I drive it, and I'm not a bad driver, but it does. I might as well have bought a Reliant Robin. I mean, I hardly use it. I might just give me a car that moves. I mean, if it goes wrong, there's nothing you can do anymore. It's all digital. It's all this. It's all that. It does wonderful things, this car. Anybody want it? God, I can't keep up with the digital nonsense. Sorry, I'm boring you now.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. Well, the only trouble is they haven't got tape anymore. You can't get tape anymore for the old recorders.
No?
The old reel-to-reel, all gone.
Oh, not in my house. Oh, no.
No,
And that's another thing. I have a cupboard full of videos. Is it the old videos, the spools?
VHS or
V8,
Betamax.
that's it. VHS. No, I didn't get Betamax. VHS, and I bought. I want. Then they, of course, they do the what's the
DVD.
DVDs. They do those. So I have a cupboard full, and they're all shelved and everything of my work, everything. And then they go and move it over to. Why couldn't they wait till I'd gone to pastures new? It cost a fortune. I bought a machine. Apparently, you can transfer it from
VHS
to
DVD.
RBC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody showed me how to do it. That machine's still there. It's never been used. Never been used.
Would there ever be a chance that you release them?
No.
Never ever.
Do you know what? What is wrong with memory? If I was to release those, and I've told my agent, they'll never be released. I've got, the audience might, who would buy it or something, they might say, "Wait, we didn't laugh at that, surely." Surely we didn't. That kind of thing. You just think, hold it for a memory, And it's a bit like, I remember saying to the villain, David Leonard, I said, yeah. He was saying about how people's memories move on and they think you've done this. And I said, I know, David, look, they'll be saying, when I've gone, they'll be saying, he used to fly, He used to fly. No wires. It could actually fly. Their little brains just... But I have to say, there are some... You wouldn't believe it. There are some wonderful, wonderful stuff on that. And there is. But, you're only talking about York. You're not talking about anything else. It wouldn't mean anything to anybody. It takes years to get on a par with, in the first few years, the only reason I came back was there was a communication between me and the audience. I was telling them that this wasn't... I was telling them it was something... not worthy of them. I can't say what the word I said. I didn't say it in public, but it wasn't rubbish. I wasn't saying to them, this is rubbish. I was saying it was absolutely appallingly bad. I mean, costumes were falling off, scenery was falling down. It was like paper and, it was awful. And the comedy came from, in the early days, the first 10 years was me and the audience. We didn't have a regular cast then. It was just me coming back every year. And it was just a unique thing of, you'd come off and you'd analyse it and you'd say, They weren't too sure about that one. And I'm not talking about filth. I'm just talking, why didn't that get a laugh, you know? Why didn't this go? Why didn't that go? And the only thing I've got is a natural instinct about timing. And it's like when I go off and ad-lib, and people might not believe it and all the rest, but that cast have to deal with me. But all they have to do is not panic. I'll never let them ever come off that stage with egg on their faces. I'll always get them out, and we'll have a lot of fun if I turn around, right, you know, after a session or something. Right, whose line is it then? Is it yours, pet, or mine? It's yours. Oh, you're going to give me a hint. That kind of thing, you know. And you just, as an audience, you feel, oh, that's special. That was just for me. You know, it's really a very, very weird experience. But I mean, I have no. If people think everybody knows me in York, well, I tell you what, you can go to anyone, say Berwick, Kaler, and say who. You go up to a child or anyone who's been to the pantomime, and I'm talking about small children. They know Berwick Kaler. Now that's a difficult name for a child to remember, and it really is. But they know, and it's unique in as much as it's just for a few people who know me, who know the pantomime, the wonderful team, and it is a wonderful team, and a bossy boots, who's the stage manager. It's going to be a name from now on, Anna. But I have to get on with everyone. I have to. And backstage, the stage hands are as important as anybody else. No one's more important than anybody, including me. No one. You don't treat the chorus, you know, the old days, the chorus was the bottom of the ladder. There's none of that. There's absolutely none of that. And that's what I'll miss as well, is the camaraderie and everything. And watching youngsters come up and giving them the odd note and this, that and the other. I'm too old to direct now. But,
So how did you get the team that you've got together?
I kidnapped them.
Yeah.
I kidnapped them. The thing, what I've always said is that you could be my brother, sister, whatever. If that audience doesn't like you, no matter who you are, you're not back. You don't come back. And it's not that they go, hello, we don't like you, don't use that one again. You just know. You just know. So you don't, and you know instantly. And that's what I mean about the writing. I write for all their strengths, their weaknesses, including David Martin, Susie, all the main regulars. And you just notice things like in the chorus. Give them a little push, give them a few lines, Let's see. Jake Lindsay's a good one from last year when he had to pretend he was Susie's father. And all I said was, you know, all I know about him is his name's Moses. So Jake came on. He's a dancer, you know, Essex and all that, you know. And he came on, white beard, as Moses, with a thing. And I said, "What's this?" He said, "My tablet." And that to me is the best gag I've ever written. it brought the bloody house down. And it was all modern. It was, Moses had a tablet. You know, it was, it's fascinating. I will miss it. I will miss it.
So, when it comes to things such as trends and things like this that you like to include in the script, how do you go about it?
Well, I used to stop. You're not allowed to do it now. But the innocent world of pantomime is to stop kids and say, "What's your favourite? What's your favourite song of the moment? What's this? You know, what's that?" And the thing about the dame is, the older you get, the funnier you become. It's weird because you'll say things like. You'll get all the girls in the chorus, with their skimpy frocks and all the rest of it and everything else. And they'll be talking about, I don't know, but a pop star.
Rihanna.
A bit more weird. I know Rihanna.
Lady Gaga.
No, I've done Lady Gaga.
Yeah, you have, actually.
Yeah.
Adele?
No, but no, just one of these names. And I just go in, you just, as the old dame, you walk in there and say, "Hello, girls, how are you?" And they'll say, talking about this, and they'll say, "Oh, no, I'm not into it too much, but I do like Alma Cogan." And, there's your love. Not for everybody, because in our pantomime, we don't just stop there, because I know that only a few old people like me will remember Alma Cogan. But it's the way it's written and how we explain it and everything that gets the humour. And I was going back to just collecting a load of jokes, and that isn't a pantomime. That isn't it. I collect ideas. And I promise you, I sit upstairs in the study and I hardly look at the notes. It suddenly just comes from there, and I don't know where it comes from. The weirdness of it, the costumes, it's marvellous. And that's the only thing I've ever had as an imagination. That's all. That's all you're talking about.
What's been your favourite costume over the years as well? Because how many changes do you have in the show?
Well, they're getting less. I will not go on that stage and not be physical. I can't, But I am introducing a slower pace, in as much as the comedy is a lot more careful. There's... I do have a pacemaker. I have had bypass. Let's not make a mockery of the NHS.
You need to slow down.
Well, the audience want you to, really.
Yeah, they don't want you to injure yourself
But I'm living in the past, and as well, I remember when I used to jump through windows. When I used to do crazy stunts and everything, and I love them. I mean, even last year, I went on that ladder, and at the top of it, and it goes right to the bottom of the stage. I mean, but you don't have to kill yourself.
Is it more difficult as well now with Martin, who's suffered?
Who?
That poor fella that you put upon every year.
Never heard of him. No, sorry.
But he's not been well, has he? So he had that awful motorbike accident.
Well, I think he lost. I think his sense of humour went. That's what I think. No, bless him, he was. There's an example of what you can overdo it, but we got a lot of comedy out of his accident. And it was a serious accident. We got lots of comedy. And I'd say things like, "You're only trying to outdo me." I go into hospital, and you have to follow, and you have to say to yourself, now then, what can I do to outdo Berwick? I know, I'm 60, I'll go out and I'll buy a motorbike, and I'll crash it. And it's good. It's good. I like it.
The thing I've noticed as well is that partnership with you and Martin.
Yeah.
How would you describe it to people?
It's weird. We're not more. God, please, no. They're not the. They're in a world of their class of their own. Welcome. It's two comic actors. That's what I've never been a comedian ever. I've never told a gag in my life. It's two comic actors who just. I love working with him because I used to be able to. I don't know if he'll do it now. I could, right from the word go, and I auditioned him in Regent's Park. And I don't mean audition. I mean I was working in London. He had to come down. And I had to prove if he was going to be all right. And we just had a drink at the bar and told everybody else in the show, "Oh, meet my new son in Pantomime." And it was just I can say to him, "Martin, tonight I want you to rush on that stage, jump over the orchestra pit, hang by your teeth from the balcony." And you know what? I know it's a slight exaggeration, but he'll do it. He's never refused anything I've ever asked him to do. And the only concession to age now is, I say to him, "Now, you sure you can manage it?" But he's great. But one of my mainstays is Susie Cooper. Her, it's old news now, but her audition was diabolical. She came out, she messed the song up. There was a choreographer there, there was a musical director there, and at the end of all the auditions, they said, "Well, who do you think?" And I said, "Susie Cooper." And they said, "But she was terrible, she was this." But it was personality. And she was nervous, but you just see that little spark. And she reminded me of a young Amy MacDonald, who you won't know, but she was a great comic actress. And I don't think the audience, it took 2-3 years for the audience to really appreciate her. And that's mainly because she was a woman at the time, you know. We are going back quite a few years. And she was a young kid. She's 77 now, I think.
She will listen to this, you know that.
Will she? Oh, if she puts her hearing aid in. But she's been, well, we call her the diva. But the things she said, "I'll never work with you again, I'll do this." And I never, ever, ever had an argument with her. I just let her rant and rave and everything else. And I think we have the best villain in the country with David Leonard, without a shadow of a doubt. He's on his own there. I just think we have a group of good, solid, jobbing actors. And the good thing about all of us is, if you were to do nothing else, or achieve nothing else in your career, you know, as an ordinary actor, I'm talking about, you know, like AJ, Susie, David, Martin, you walk on a stage and hundreds of people applaud you just for the fact that you've gone on stage. Just an entrance. You could be at the Las Vegas, you could be at the Palladium, you could be woo, 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 woo. You've experienced it. You know what it's like. It's, it's rather nice.
So how did you get started off? Talk me from the beginning, please.
Wow. I was born in slums of Sunderland. Rough background. And this is all. For years I've gone on about no one knows what poverty is like unless you've experienced my childhood. And okay, nobody had anything anyway, so we were all living in slums. We were all everybody was the same. So you thought that was just like. But the fact is, the only photograph I've got is me as a kid, like 4 or 5, is I'm in a wonderful, expensive sort of jacket and cap, and I've got one foot on a car, and it was taken in London. And it was because my sisters were 18, 19 years older than me, and I'd gone there for a little holiday, and they'd dressed me up, they'd paid for this and all that. So you can't win. I'm going to have it changed. I'm going to have it all doctored and get a thing. Left Sunderland when I was 15. Wouldn't advise it these days. 15. Did painting and decorating, and then basically I don't know where the notion came from. I mean, as a kid, I would often do Jerry Lewis impressions. I love entertaining, and I was in the Scouts, and we did a play, and I don't know who the leader was or something, but he said, you should think about. That was a good little performance there, lad. And I was really living it. And then it was all forgotten, and just got the idea that, I was decorating outside Lawrence Harvey. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Lawrence Harvey's house. No, not his house. John Quested's house, who was a producer. And Lawrence Harvey I think it was the L-shaped room or something like that. And he'd come in, I'd be singing along in the ladder, and I'd have a thick Geordie accent, man. Nobody could understand a word I was saying at all. And I said, to him, I wouldn't mind being an actor in that. And he must have thought, oh my God. And I think just to put me off, he said, well, I wouldn't bother about going to drama school. Just go out and find a job. But I took it seriously. I went out and I found a job. I found myself... first job I had, I think it was Birkenhead, doing a schools tour or something. But the big money came a few months later when I was earning grand sum of £12 a week in Margate at the Dreamland Theatre, Old Time Musical. And do you know what? That Old Time Musical show taught me a lot about acting and knowing that you can't just rely, and you can't anymore, you can't just, if you're one of the top film stars you can, but these days jobbing actors can't just be jobbing actors. They've got to be, you've got to be able to sing a bit if you want to get regular work. Sing a bit, dance a bit, this, that and the other. I can't do any, and I think it's wonderful I've been able to earn a living. But that's it. I mean, I just went from one to, I never had oh God, I must be famous. Never, ever thought that. And I know you might say, oh, you protest too much, but no, fame doesn't do much for me. No. I might not be able to live without the audience when I go, but the fame will not bother me, at all. I don't need that. I mean, my best mate, Susie Quattro, and it's not dropping names, she has been for years and years and years, and she can't live without it. She's a bloody pensioner. She fills theatres all over the world, Australia and everything. It still does, and I can't. I don't need that. No. But she can't live, and I'm not that kind of person.
So anybody that you looked up to as this sort of young, kind of wannabe performer?
No. Didn't want to copy anybody.
Or anybody you'd admired? Anybody you really admired from back in your youth?
I talk as if I'm born in the 18th century or something. There was before I did York, I had about 8 big commercial pantomimes, and I played the villain, which is why David's part's always good, because I just adore the villain. And Nat Jackley I actually worked with, and for me, and Roy Hodd as well was a good dame, but Nat Jackley was absolute perfect. He's from Sunderland. Alcoholic wife. She was banned from most of all the theatres. Nat was, but I've not copied. The dame hasn't been copied by anybody. Nobody. I adore Mother Riley, who I think was a fantastic dame. Les Dawson didn't fulfill himself as a dame, but he would have. If he'd been able to do pantomime he'd be the greatest dame going. It was just wonderful. But it is a weird thing with playing the dame. You can be the funniest comedian in the world. You put a frock on, and you suddenly become the most unfunny. Lots of people have found that. And the hideous makeup that some of these people put on their faces, are like clowns, doesn't go for me.
Because your dame's very natural, isn't it?
No makeup. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But the audience probably think, oh, he's put loads of makeup on to look that old. And I haven't. It's like we're talking about the biography. The people I auditioned for Hair with David Bowie, and this was before he was famous, but he'd made this album which they re-released as a psychedelic album, and I've still got it upstairs, the original cover of, they brought it out when he was famous in a psychedelic cover, but the original cover's upstairs. And we just got on quite well. We auditioned, we had a cup of tea afterwards and all that in this cafe, and he just said, he's just talking. I think Brian Matthews, who used to be a late night DJ, and probably still is going to play a couple of my songs on the show. And I said, I'll listen in. And I think when I heard the songs, just at home, and I remember thinking, "God, yeah, that is quite impressive." And you just sort of knew there was something about this guy. You didn't think, not saying it would, how we turned out, I wouldn't know, but there was something very, very impressive. The sad news is that neither of us got the part. But I bought that album after hearing it on the thing, and I've been a big fan of his ever since, and I just think he's big loss.
Did your paths ever cross?
Hmm?
Did your paths ever cross later on in life?
No, like David Essex. I did a show in I think it was Guildford, with David Essex when he had absolutely nothing, and we used to walk around the West End together and talk. And I remember his girlfriend Margaret, who he married, and I saw him at Susie Quattro was doing one of the old sort of pension, I think. And David Essex was on the bill as well. And it's surprising how many people remember you and that was years ago. Years ago. I've still got him singing a song from that period. But it took him years to get going. Years. But paths do cross. They do. And sometimes you don't want to meet people, naff to work with and all that. But that's like any job. It's like any job. I've just gone from one job to another, quite merrily, happily, on my way. I've also done an enormous amount of television, but this business is wonderful. I mean, Mark Addy, I went to what was it? Dark Night? No, something. What's that thing? But with Heath Ledger, Knight's Tale. No, was it Knight's Tale? Knight's Tale. And it's starring Mark Addy, Heath Ledger, and there was Johnny Depp was in Prague making a film as well. And all I'm saying this for is it's just a couple of days in the life of a jobbing actor. And because of Mark, I got invited to join them in a meal, and Johnny. The films had just all got together, the stars and everything. Names I think I'm sure I saw that face, and somebody will say, yeah, he was there that evening, and it was Johnny Depp. Oh God, I can't remember names. Lots of people. A huge American director of Knight's Tale, and Mark had invited me with all these people. They were all Heath Ledger. They were all well. Cut. Long story short. At the end of the evening, you had all these Hollywood actors talking about the York Pantomime. Bless his heart, through Mark, who was saying,
lovely.
Because they'd never heard, you wear a frock. You know this, you know that, And just a fascinating thing. But when Mark comes see the show, and I haven't said it for her, but I say, Mark and I starred in A Knight's Tale together. Yes. Yeah. He got a bit billing over the title. I played Man in Stocks. I love it. I just absolutely love it.
Do you think that's kept you going though? The whole sense of it's not serious. It's a bit of fun.
It's not serious. No. It can be hard work in as much as I did 3 series on Spender with Jimmy Neal, and I was living in London. I was travelling from Chiswick to Newcastle to Chiswick. It's the travelling more than anything. And when you're not a so-called big star and not being booked into lovely hotels and things, you do have to cut corners and get home and, that kind of thing. I think that's what I mean about getting to this stage where I just want to draw my state pension. I don't want to die and not have my state pension. But I can't claim it while you're working because they just tax you on it anyway,
Yeah.
So a thing. But I've just got to this stage where I don't want to go around the world again. I don't want to travel from one end of the country to the other to earn a sixpence. I don't. Maybe that's just age. But there are people my age who can't afford to choose how they retire and what they do. And I've worked hard for everything. No one's given me anything. No, never. No, but I've had one or two people who thought, "Oh, he's got a bit of talent to help me out," and I've worked for the same directors, that kind of thing, which is always good. Just see if it's guaranteed a great summer next year, then yeah, I might retire. Sit in the garden.
We're looking at you now, going, "Please don't." But
No.
so here's one.
I'm going to get letters off there. Oh, for goodness sake, retire! Been waiting for years.
Something I want to ask you. Me babbies, me bairns. Where's it come from?
What business is it over yours?
Well, I'm the interviewer, so
Oh, yeah?
it's. I'm trying my best.
You do this for a living, man. Bit poncy, isn't
Well,
it?
for those people who don't know, when you come on stage for the very first time, you say the words. Well, you can say them better than me. If you wouldn't mind gracing me with that, please.
Well, I never say it, until the first night.
Fair enough. You say me babbies, me bairns.
Yeah.
And it's the warmth.
I cannot say anything. I can't ad-lib, I can't do anything without those words coming out.
Is that
first.
like the shirt
There
and
are
tie
people.
Yeah.
There are people who, quite a lot, numerous times, messages come backstage. Oh, we were late at the beginning. Can he say? Can he come on and say it again? It's weird. Just means we're all bands. No need to be critical and everything.
Where does it come from, though? Where?
Just made it up.
Yeah? Never said to you previously by anybody or your mum or anything like that? Or
Well, bands was
Yeah.
Or I think a lot of them Barnes people. Yeah. Bands, babbies. It's one of those. I didn't walk on and just start saying that. It took about 2 or 3 years and didn't analyse who the bands is. I've tried, it doesn't work. That the bands could be the older adults, but you're all bands, and the babbies are officially it's under 16. You're a babby.
Thank you.
And over 16, you're a Ben. And that's...
And we're watching Mummy perform in a way.
Mummy?
The day, well, if you're calling us your babbies and your bairns, you're seeing us as your children.
Your mum.
Yeah.
I'm your mum, not mummy.
Well, mummy for people like me down south. Sorry. Me mam. Me mam, as they say up north.
Come on up here to pinch our water.
I've only been up there 15 years. It's
yeah. No, I'm not going to retire. Look at these dogs. I mean, I've got, I've got to feed them. They've been good, haven't they?
They've been very good.
Haven't they?
Yeah. Beautiful. Content.
Or they just don't like you. Could be that. Yeah, don't think they like you. I know you don't like me.
So what would be your advice for any young, upcoming...
Don't do it. Get a proper job. Have a career. Yeah, don't... Well, it's a marvellous opportunity for the youngsters can now. They can do what they like. In my day, you had to get up. In my day, you had to work, and which is why we got people in repertory like Gary Oldman, Pierce Brosnan, lots of others I can't but remember. But you got them because they had to work in the provinces. They had to do, I think it was 6 months or 18 months in the provinces before you could work in the West End. You couldn't get a job in the West End, and you had to have the full equity card. All that's gone. All that's gone. You can go straight into the West End. You can go do anything you like, and you know, the union-wise, don't have to join a union. You don't have to do this. You could do anything. I think universities are going to get a knock. I do. I think they're going to. Yes, everybody will have to. You'll always need education, but there'll be a shorter way of doing it, and a cheaper way, hopefully. I can't see this 3 years and gap years and all. I can't see that in the future.
And what about for Panto stars now, or not? Maybe not stars as such.
I'm talking about something educational, and you have to take everything back to Panto.
But for those Panto people who are listening now, who are envious of your career,
I have, my face has always, although it's very handsome, and it's always looked old, to be honest with you, old and ugly at 30. And I started about 30 as the Dame. Before that, I was the youngest villain in the country. Whatever, just take a look at yourself in a mirror and don't leave these kind of, ask yourself why you would want to enter this business. Why? Because a lot of people try it for many years and don't succeed. It's a very, very trying, hard business. And there's a lot of dickheads in there, and so what I'm saying is, I took a look at myself. I said, you'll never be a leading man in a million years. Not with a face like that. But it was a face that got me a lot of character work. I was playing old men when I was early 20s. Whereas if you were a good-looking kid and model looks and all that, you're not going to play an old decrepit gardener or something like that. And for me, they were fun. They were fun part people, you know. Bottom is still my favourite Shakespeare role. And everybody else wants Hamlet now. No thanks. No. But just take a look, but also to take every opportunity. And if you're starting off in this business, take anything. Take anything, you know, whatever's offered. You'll learn something from it. You will. I've learned something from the most weird, like old-time musical. What's that? Teaches you a lot. Teaches you a lot. You learn from some. If you just think coming in for fame, no. There's a lot of posh people coming in now, isn't there? All these superstars. So I don't know. I love the profession because it's classless. Although it's getting a bit posh now, but it's always classless. Then nobody ever in the business. No one looks at you and makes judgments on you. What colour you are, how old you are, man or woman. We're all equal. We're all going to have to work together in a little room somewhere, then transfer it into a big room, and we've got to get on. And the thing with acting is if it's a two-hander, you're in the hands of the other person. Whoever you do a scene with, you're in their hands because they could make you look rather bad. So you've got to be aware of so much. And for me, I've always been better at theatre than anything else. Although my Man in the Stocks was rather good, I thought.
So with the writing process, it's a bit of a sore subject because we've got the press officer here as well. But the writing process, how does it normally begin for yourself?
Well, they force me to do a synopsis in end of March, April, and
you announced the title on the last night and then tickets get sale on March the 1st.
That's right. I knew something like that. Yes, I announced the title on the last night of each pantomime. The tickets go on sale on the 1st of March, and the queue is round the Minster. It's phenomenal. Tourists can't understand. Hey, what's the queue for? What's the queue for? See this bald-headed old. So I dish out a synopsis because I'm well aware, you know, they've got to cost the show. They've got all these kind of things. And then I forget about the synopsis. They think I'm writing the first draft, but I'm not. I begin the process late of writing. As soon as I write, I love the editing of it. That's my thing. I'm very good at the editing and cutting out. Love all that. But my thing with pantomime is, and the reason for all ad-libbing in that is, I get bored. I get bored so easily. And the same with the writing. I can do a scene, then come back to it a week later and go, oh, no. Not that it's naff in any way or anything like that, but no, I don't like that character. And then, of course, you've got to rewrite the beginning or everything that you've done. So it's a process that goes on all year like that. I'm not saying every day, no. But it's a process that, and then by the time it comes to going into rehearsals, you think you're really confident that you've done the best you can, and you've cut out wherever your mind in July, your mind's not the same as the winter months. It just isn't, and you think, oh no, summer gag. Also, you write things in that you, like with the numbers, you have to select numbers that you know are going to be all right in 6 months' time. You're going to, it could be Theresa May, so you do a Theresa May gag, and then she's ousted. By the time you've got to rehearsals, or it's old hat. The things that are going on that are relevant to everyone's lives. And, people are getting fed up with Brexit and that, but we don't overdo it. But we've had a couple of really good howlers in there for Brexit. And that is part of a pantomime's job. And if you are the Lord Mayor of York or the Prime Minister of this country or whatever, you've got to be able to take the odd jibe. It doesn't have to be nasty. And also, people associate, like, if you do you've got to be careful that it's not an anti-Labour joke, or if it is a joke about one party, the other party's got to get slaughtered as well. You've got to be fair about it, that kind of thing. But people just forget. So you're safe with Brexit because it'll be absolutely wow, big over Christmas. But then you've got to make the decision, only the one or two gags. People will, you decide, let's just have a laugh. Let's take them out of it all this. It just all depends on the state of the nation, how you do that. Are we ready for a knock? Are we ready for this and that? But the best way, I think, this year is to have a laugh more than worry about what's relevant in the world. You can twist things. You can twist things.
Have you ever had a major rewrite of a panto before?
Major arguments. No. Last year I finished the script at the end of the first week of rehearsals. They didn't have a second half. And that was naughty. But then, I wasn't supposed to be doing the pantomime, really. Supposed to have 6 months off. So they'll forgive me, but they won't forgive me this year. That's why I'm hoping they'll sack me. because it's quite likely it's going to be late. But it's just, I can't explain it, but it's more exciting that way. It's new to me, you know.
Adrenaline.
The adrenaline, everything, and we can go further risk, we can go further than that. If you write too early, you've drained everything out of something, so you forget, I should have kept that in, it was rather clever. Oh, no, it's got to be as if this is the first time you've ever said these lines, and that's the element of all acting. I write as if, for the rest of the cast, as if they're making it up on the spur of the moment. I just think this year's Panto will test the audience a lot. I really do. I mean, I can see them leaving the theatre thinking, what did we just see then? Was it Peter Pan? Was it Dick Turpin? Was it Cinderella? Was it... Because they're all in it.
Sounds very intriguing, to say the least.
It's difficult. It's difficult. It's very difficult. Yeah, you've got Hansel and Gretel. Ooh.
Tell us more, please.
No!
Well, I think we need to ask you the very last question, and I don't know if you've been briefed on this.
No.
He hasn't. Oh, okay. This is new then to you. I would like to know, please. We ask every person this. Your dream pantomime, so your favourite pantomime, and who would be your dream cast? You can either be in it, or you could be sitting in the audience watching it. Literally, you can have pick of anybody, alive or unfortunately deceased.
Yeah,
and
well,
who,
Martin Barris is practically dead, so he'd be all right.
but what would be your dream lineup? And also as well, director, lighting, sound, musicians. Who would you like to see as a team together? Money with no object as well, which I'm sure this one is.
Not with this management. I think my favourite pantomime has got to be Mother Goose. But the most memorable pantomime I've ever done and will ever do, and I can't tell you how magical and different experience. It was Dick Whittington at the Railway Museum in York, and we did it on a railway track. I couldn't believe I enjoyed I was that close with the audience. I mean, it was like the audience were just siding on the
My little boy, we were in the front row, and I had my little boy, and he'd fallen asleep, and you gave me the bottle of Nuki Brown, because I think that was the last time you did the Nuki Browns, wasn't it?
Yeah, they didn't want to associate it with us.
Oh,
They didn't.
Your brewery, then?
yes.
No, it's all this PC thing. It's all. They didn't think it was right.
Yeah, you saw me, and you saw that
Yeah.
he was asleep, and you came up to me with your big old clodhoppers on, as they say, and
I tell you, the high-heeled boots, very expensive.
yes, and you came over and you handed me a bottle,
Oh.
and I was just, and I've still got it.
But that, you see, that's pantomime.
That is
You're a
it.
grown man. You're not stupid. You're not. And
I'll
yet,
take that.
and yet, you've got a smile on your face because some
Bloke
dame
in a
gives
frock,
you a
yeah.
bottle of thing. That is pantomime. If you'd gone and said, no, thank you, I don't drink, you should never go and see a pantomime because you ain't got a sense of humour or anything like that. But that's what it's like. It's like the wagon wheels. They're just ridiculous.
Where did that come from, by the way?
Oh, that was all me. When I first arrived, I said, what do you throw out to the children? And they said nothing. We used to throw boiled sweet, because don't forget this is the chocolate capital of the world, you know, especially 40 years ago. And they said we used to throw boiled sweets, but then they started throwing them back, and the actors were getting hurt. And I said, we'll get them something that they will want to keep, or if they do throw them back, it won't hurt so much. And I went across the road, and there was a shop which is now Sainsbury's. It was called Jackson's, and I bought 8 wagon wheels. I saw as soon as I went in the shop, I just looked at it. They were in a box, and I thought, I have not had a wagon wheel for years, since I was a kid, because I used to think, and everybody did, that wagon wheels, when you're a child, they're huge, and they're all yours. And I bought 8, and I threw them out that night. Only 8. And I found that if you go like that, what's this, when you skim on the water with the pebbles, and they would fly. They would fly up into the balcony. I only had 8, and I started I thought a couple on each shelf. And when I got the balcony, suddenly it was the flying wagon wheels. And the next day the manager said, what did you do that for? And I said, well, why not? Well, you do realise we're going to have to pay for them every performance. We're going to buy them. And I said, why don't you find out who makes them and ask if they would like to supply them for nothing? And that's what happened, and that's how they started. Honest to God, I've had to fight for every kind of thing that's now popular. I had to start. I said, I don't believe these people. You know, they great idea, flying wagon. Oh, it was lovely. It was unique. It was original. No, you have to fight for everything. Anyway, what was your question?
It was about your dream Panto lineup.
Yes.
You were saying about...
Yes.
Your,
well, that was you going on about the... my little boy was fast asleep,
so
which I took to be an insult. Why was your child asleep in your arms seeing my pantomime?
He's a good reviewer. No. No, he was only little then as well. How many years ago was that? Was that 4 years? 3?
Oh, everything's just last year.
3 years ago. So he would have been 3
I
years old.
just thought that will be the most memorable pantomime. Not one, because you know we're in Yorkshire. People will tell you, I didn't think it was as good as last year, or whatever. They'll give you it. Not one. Everybody said I really was not looking forward to going to a railway track to see a pantomime, and this was done because the theatre was being renovated. So we couldn't use the theatre. And I thought, no. This is a good year for a sabbatical. And honest to goodness, what Mark Walters, the designer, did, it wasn't my show. It isn't it really isn't my show. I just front it. Somebody has to. I front it. He was. I don't know where his imagination, but I love people with imagination. And it's thanks to Mark, really, and Richard Jones, who is the most brilliant lighting designer. And it's thanks to those two that we've lasted these last few years, you know, because you have to bring someone in who's going to give me ideas as well. You know, it's always me giving ideas to the designers and everything. Mark, I just let him rip. I'll say, they've got to wear something, Mark. But the costumes are just brilliant. Brilliant. And I mean, a lot of the things in the, you'd walk past on the Dick Whittington at the museum. You'd walk past somebody in a big frock And they'd be just saying, "Oh, look at that material, Hilda." You were that close to them. It was wonderful. I used to walk past. I can hear that, you know, but you can't in an auditorium. It just totally mind-blowing. It's an absolute memorable pantomime.
Were you
But
looking forward to it?
No. And don't forget, the audience were facing each other. So the sets had to be designed so that both sides could see the same thing. And it was like a pantomime in the round, I suppose, as well. But,
What was it you were dreading about it?
it was in a bloody museum. The stage was a moving truck. It was what trains run on. Incredible. I was stunned. I remember thinking, I was absolutely, totally stunned by it. It was wonderful. I loved it. But Mother Goose is I always said I'd go out on Mother Goose, but then Dan Leno, a very famous dame from the past, he did Mother Goose, and then he went mad. So started thinking he was a Shakespearean actor. Yeah, Mother Goose, and my ideal Panto cast would be Nat Jackley, Roy Hudd, Christopher Biggins, Gary Oldman as the cat. We did Dick Whittington. Mark Addy. And I'd bring River Phoenix back from the dead as Principal Boy. But I can't do that, can I?
Yeah, of course you can.
Can I? Right.
It's your dream.
You did say living or dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's why I didn't pick Martin, Susie, or do, because they're nearly dead. And then I would put them all in parts they've never, ever played in pantomime. And if I was to do another one, there's a little key there, there's a little secret there. That would work wonders.
So we've got to watch this space.
Well, you're getting me excited about things. Before you came into my living room, I was ready to retire.
And read your Dickens,
yes. And I was actually out there, dead heading the roses. I was content. I'd love to do this all year. You come in, you get me excited, passionate about pantomime again, and I am passionate about it. That's why I don't want to. I want to keep this passion, and I don't know if I can physically keep this passion. You know, there's lots of old stuff where you very difficult to do anything dangerous in pantomime these days because health and safety. Well, yes, it is important. I know that, but I know what I'm doing with the pratfalls and that. I can't do them now, but it's a risk. There's got to be an element of verbally walking that line, I mean, it is a dangerous, to do it properly with a full-scale slapstick scene. I mean, I've nearly choked to death, and I mean nearly choked to death twice. I was carted off to hospital in between shows when they dropped me from a great height into a tank of water, hit my shin. Went to hospital, came back and did the second show and did the same routine. Oh. It was killing me.
How did you almost choke then?
Well, stage management, not Bossy Boots, suddenly decided, and this is where, people are not trained anymore. There's a crazy foam which clowns use and everything else, which is fine. What you would never use instead would be shaving foam. It has chemicals in there, it has everything. Martin shoved this plate of what we now know as shaving foam into my face. It went, just blocked the windpipe. And I knew it had, and I was like, I just walked off the stage. Martin didn't know what the hell was happening. And when we'd been doing the show for a few weeks, so people just, and with my silliness, everybody just, very good. And then somebody caught on, and I was going blue. This doctor arrived from St. Peter's Gate, which was just by the Minster, and she'd ran all the way. And, I mean, she needed the oxygen. And by the time she'd arrived, I'd just managed to get a bit of air into the old lungs. But it's a dangerous game. That's nobody made a fuss of it. These days, there'd be people suing, and the managements have to be careful about everything. Companies have to be careful about everything. And I'm not saying part of it isn't right, but there's a few elements where I thought, I wouldn't dream of suing someone. Yes, if I lost an arm, but not this suing kind of. You've got to take a few risks, and comedy is a very risky business to get into, and this kind of comedy is very particular to a certain breed of people. It's not fantastic, it's not mind-blowing. The first year you'd probably look around at the audience and you may be saying to yourself, I'd say 50% of the show you might be saying, why are they laughing at that? Why are they doing this? But enough in that first visit to realise this is a real panto. This is a full-scale slapstick scene here. This has got all the ingredients, the transformation, everything. They don't cut corners. But the next year you come, you know everything. There's enough in it for a first visit, more than a lot of other pantomimes do. But second year. And it's the enthusiasm of people when they have guests in at Christmas and foreign people, foreign tourists and all this. They say, you're going to see our pantomime tonight. They're excited about it. And, we're not talking about idiot people here. They're all, there's professors, doctors, lawyers, every walk of life comes to see us. And all denominations. No, they're proud of it. And I don't want to let them down. but I'm thinking about that idea.
Well, Berwick, thank you so much for taking the time to
Oh,
be part
go
of the-
away. You've ruined my life.
Sorry. So I'll see you next
You've
year.
ruined
I'll
it.
see you next year.
I'm saying nothing.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.